Chapter 11 goes into some career opportunities that deal in family and community services. So these are traditionally the type of jobs that I think of when I think about a career in family sciences. These are the types of people that really have a passion for helping others. The people who just really want to go in and work with children or families that are struggling, and just that, those types of people that just really want to help people. So these are those types of careers that I think of in family and community services. So first, we're going to talk about paraprofessionals. So this would be something kind of like an aide or an assistant or something like that. The paraprofessional is kind of like the lower level. Um, so say for example, in the teaching world, there's a special ed teacher, and most special ed classrooms are going to have a paraprofessional in there as a teacher's assistant because they need a little extra help in the special education classroom. So the main teacher would be certified as a teacher, have, bachelor's degree, all of that stuff. But a paraprofessional wouldn't have to have as many qualifications. They're not going to get paid as much, but they're not going to need a teaching certificate. They're not going to need necessarily a bachelor's degree. It's more of an associate's degree type of level. So a paraprofessional is sort of more like an aide or an assistant type of position. They could work in schools or in the medical field. They could be in foster care organizations. There's sort of just this support staff that helps out. Okay, so then we'll go into counselors. So counselors are going to need a lot more education. So in order to be a licensed counselor, you have to have either a master's degree or a doctoral degree, a PhD. And you also have to have your state licensing. So just because you go and get a master's degree in family science does not automatically make you a counselor. You're going to have to go through a certain program to get all of the different qualifications that you need. You're going to have to pass a state licensing test in order to get to be a full counselor. There's a few different types of counselors. You can specialize in lots of different things. We normally would think of like a marriage and family therapist. There's also rehab counselors that would work in maybe like addiction recovery or something like that. Mental health counselors. So kind of comparing it to the marriage and family therapy. Marriage and family therapy is more of just this family's kind of going through a hard time, but a mental health counselor would be working with like someone that has bipolar depression or something like that. More of this individualized medical kind of mental health disorders. And then vocational counselors, someone you would think of as like a career counselor or something like that, working with people, helping them find jobs or figure out what path they need to take in order to get the job that they want. And we've got social work. You do need a master's degree in most cases to be a social worker. There are a lot of social worker jobs. So if this is something that you're looking into, the job outlook is very good for social workers. There's a need for them in so many different places. Schools will use social workers. Hospitals is a big one, because if they have somebody come in that's displaying signs of some kind of mental health issue, the first person that's going to go see them is a social worker. Also, in the court system, like the foster care agencies and things like that, a lot of social workers will be working for government agencies, in the courts, in the foster care system, things like that. Social workers, their job is to advocate for a client. Oftentimes, those clients cannot advocate for themselves. So maybe it's a child that can't even talk yet, a baby that's in a CPS type of situation. So a lot of counselors, social workers, will work for Child Protective Services. One of the things about social work is that it can be kind of a emotionally taxing job, when you see these families in crisis and these really hard situations, and having to make those judgment calls about keeping a child in a home where things aren't ideal. So just to be aware of being able to find that balance of caring about your clients, and really being emotionally in tune with them, but not getting so emotionally invested that it is affecting your own emotional or mental health. Administrative careers, these are going to be, again, kind of like we talked about in some of the previous chapters, these are sort of they would oversee a whole department or something like that, like a program director. So instead of just working like as a case manager in foster care system, you're going to be overseeing all of the case managers in your area. So it's someone that's going to need more experience. This is sort of a job where you would work for a few years in your chosen field and then be able to kind of move up the ladder to be in charge of whatever program it is that you've been working for. And so they do need to have organizational skills, management skills. You're going to want to be well educated and have some good experience before you'd be able to have an administrative career. So, the types of skills that these family and community service professionals are going to need to know, it's really important to understand all of the theories behind how human behavior works, behind communication and relationships and all of that. So, as you're going through these family science type of classes, you're going to be learning all kinds of theories. We've already looked at a couple in this class when we talk about the Maslow's hierarchy, that pyramid. That's one of those basic things that you're going to be learning about and that you're going to be using if you're in one of these professions. So if you're a therapist that's working, a marriage therapist, for example, you might see a couple and they start talking about their issues, and you're going to kind of need to be able to have those tools to say, okay, this looks like an attachment problem. So you're going to need to understand what attachment theory is and then how to work with it, and then how to give that couple the tools that they need to be able to recognize those things and to be able to help their relationship get back on the right track. The other thing is that what I was talking about with the social workers, kind of finding that personal professional balance. It can be difficult with these, you get into these emotional situations, you get to know these families, and they're going through really hard times. And so being able to be understanding of their situation and empathetic without getting too emotionally invested. It can be kind of taxing. It can cause some burnout, some emotional distress, but it's one of those things that you can learn how to do over time and get better at. It might be hard at first, but then you kind of start to get used to it. So for all of these different family and community service jobs, that's something that we need to keep in mind. Um, that's it for Chapter 11, Jobs with Family Community Service Professionals.